Hello everybody, and welcome to a Planet Zoo overview video where I will be looking at all of the maps that you can use when starting a new franchise or sandbox mode zoo. Starting with the Taiga maps. Now all three sculpted maps, regardless of continent, look like this. And I gotta say, out of all of the sculpted maps, this is not my favorite. I just don't think the buildable area is that, well, buildable. The flat map for Asia and Europe uses the same map border, map skirt, but since it's a flat map, the middle is, well, flat. And somehow I think this fits so much better into the surroundings. The North American flat map is the only unique one in the bunch, and despite being a flat map, it actually has a bit of a gradient right there at the beginning, and look at that gorgeous water. If I'm choosing a taiga map in the future, this is the one. Moving on to the tundra maps. Now there are 4 of these, distributed over 5 continents, and yet all of the sculpted ones, again, look the same. In this case, kind of an unmotivated square blob right smack in the middle of this large valley. It does, however, have a fun little surprise way over here at the back, where if you go into this cave, there is a little underground, I'm not going to call it a lake, an underground pond maybe. Now out of all of these 27 maps, this is the only water that's there the first time you load the map. The flat map for 3 of the continents, again, uses the same map skirt. And I think without the blob in the middle distracting from it, this is absolutely gorgeous. The Antarctic flat tundra map is surrounded by these much softer slopes, so it just has a more open feel overall. I really like this map. But out of all the tundra maps, the European flat map is my personal favorite. I am a sucker for water out there on the map skirt. And of all the tundra maps, it's the only one that starts out green. But if you let the weather do its thing, you will end up with a white map like the others. Still, I really like how the rocky areas of these mountains stay rocky, so it's not just all white. Look at that backdrop. Grasslands maps. We also have 4 of these, and again, the sculpted map is the same for all continents. Out of the buildable areas of the sculpted maps, this is one of my favorites. Not my top choice, but the amount of level differentiation here and the softer sloped areas make this a very usable map. We have the Grasslands map for 4 of the continents, the flat one, again using the same backdrop. The third Grasslands map here is the African one, which has a savanna look. And again, that nice bit of water at the edge and a pleasant open feel to it. Fourth and last Grasslands map is the North American, which has the same open feel as the African one, but it's more green, so it gets more of a North American prairie look, which is very fitting. Then we have the temperate maps, only 3 continents, and yet we have 5 different maps, including 2 different sculpted ones. Now the sculpted buildable area on those 2 is the same, but they use different map skirts. And I really like the sculpting of this landscape. I think because it includes those flat parts, it just fits in better with the surroundings. And it has a lot of fun little features to explore, including plenty of tunnels. Many of them leading in and out of this extinct volcano feature. And I plopped some water in here. When you do that in the areas that are made for it, it looks really good. The same map skirt is used for the flat European map. I didn't even notice the river until now, but these undulating fields just beautiful. The Asian flat temperate map, however, is even nicer. We have these floodplains surrounding. The only, I think, objection I have is that the middle area, the buildable area, is a little too square, but it does have an entrance building that is different from everything else. This is the only map where you'll find this entrance building. North American flat temperate map, I think, is the closest we get to an actual island. Unfortunately, you can't build all the way out to the water, but you still get a bit of an island feeling from this one, I think. Look at that, just beautiful. Then the last of the temperate maps, one of my personal favorites, is the sculpted European map. Out of all the sculpted maps, this is one of the few that has unique sculpting. It doesn't share the height map with any other maps, and it is almost entirely flat. There's a bit here in the back where it's more rocky, and that outcrop right there is also part of the buildable area, so you could lift part of your zoo up into the mountains. It even has what looks to be preparation for a path here, although I don't know if it's too steep to actually be functional. And then the desert maps. Now, we have more desert maps than anything else. I like this sculpted map. Again, it's highly buildable despite the sculpting. And it has this weird looking sarlacc pit in the back, which comes with an interesting little surprise if you dive into it. And don't worry, the surprise is not horrifying despite the hole it's in. It's a sandcastle. Someone making this map had fun, and I applaud it. The Asian and North American flat desert maps, again, uses the same map skirt. I just think you notice it so much more when there's not all this stuff going on in the middle. So I guess this is where you go if you want to build a zoo that no one will ever find. African desert map, the flat one, has a bit of a Sahara feeling, very fitting. I really do like these open maps where you don't feel like you're trapped in between the mountains, though that is definitely a matter of personal preference. Desert map number 4 is the South American flat and sculpted maps. We're in this, looks like a dried out riverbed. So this means there is no sculpted South American desert map because it is identical to the flat map and the entire buildable area is flat. can see the dried out river going up in the mountains there, or coming from the mountains, I guess. Now the Oceania maps have a strikingly different color from the other desert maps. And despite the similarities with the skirt, those are also unique for Oceania, as is the sculpting of the landscape. Just as the European sculpted temperate map, this one has unique landscape sculpting as well. Bit of an Ayers Rock looking thing there without being a copy of it. Last but certainly not least, we have the tropical maps. 5 maps on 5 continents. The sculpted one for 4 of them looking like this. And out of the sculpted landscapes, this one is my favorite. It is very buildable, but at the same time it's challenging because some of these inclines are not exactly simple. It has quite a few little tunnels, but none of them really seem to lead anywhere. It does have many features that just look stunning. Imagine the habitat you could build in that area out front right now. The flat tropical map for Africa and North America uses the same backdrop as the sculpted map. These nice flat, are they called mesas? These flat mountain hills. Now the third tropical map I have is the flat map for Asia, and I love just how green this is. It's really the water on 2 sides and the mountains on the other 2. Just really asking for a lot of plants in your zoo. Out of all 27 maps, however, the most unique ones are the South American tropical ones. Look at that. Not only does it have a completely different feel from everything else, it's also challenging because it is much, much smaller. This is only 970 meters by 510. The others are about 1,000 by 1,000. And the sculpted version is even smaller. This is just a thin, narrow stretch of land between 2 mountaintops. So if you're looking for a challenge or a unique look for your next zoo, this is your map. Even the entrance is unique. It comes out of this little temple-looking building here. That is it. Those were all the 27 maps you can use for franchise mode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider hitting the appropriate buttons. Thank you for watching, and may your next build be the best one yet. Bye.